A refugee is someone who has been forced to flee his or her country due to violence, war, persecution, or even a natural disaster. Currently, there are 65.6 million forcibly displaced people worldwide, with 22.5 million of those people being refugees. 13 million children account to more than half of the refugee population, and the numbers don't seem to be decreasing. Many of these children have to risk their lives traveling unsafe roads and crossing dangerous waters.
Stories such
They
as
even
Juna's
risk the
are not
possibility of
uncommon
being
among Syrian
kidnapped
refugee children
or
across
exploited
Lebanon.
for
Child
sex
rights
or
advocates
labor.
say a growing number of children can only find work that is difficult or dangerous, like Mohammed Al-Jazm, who, at 12 years old, moves furniture. He says he finds it hard to talk about his past life and hopes to one day become a singer so that he can make people happy. But for now, he says he has no choice but to work.
My life used to be beautiful. We used to
The trauma-induced experience of leaving one's country, especially for children, can produce physical effects such as unexplainable body pains, uncontrollable tears, lack of sleep or too much sleep, and the list is endless. These children also often suffer from fear or anxiety, sadness, irritability, trouble paying attention, not wanting to socialize, even trouble controlling their emotions. In other words, an extreme case of PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a psychiatric stress disorder which often follows extremely traumatic events. The symptoms often fall into intrusive thoughts, avoiding reminders, negative thoughts and feelings, and arousal and reactive symptoms. Child refugees are often diagnosed with PTSD, with studies documenting rates of PTSD from 7% to 75% and depression from 11 to 47%. Zainab is only 11 years old, and she has been living in a camp in Syria for the past 3 weeks with only her mother and her brothers. For her, the memories of the horrible things she has seen is just too traumatizing to bear. From a cognitive approach, recollections of events at such an early age are long-term and lasting. Although the experience for some can be too traumatizing altogether, but they have no recollection of the memory at all. The effects of this trauma as well as behavioral changes are largely due to external factors and not genetic factors. In this view, the position a child takes affects their view of life and the actions they pursue. In other words, their belief determines their behavior. Some child refugees may often experience feelings of hopelessness and defeat, as they believe nothing they do can change their situation. The humanistic perspective is easily debatable, as concepts such as free will, self-efficacy, and self-actualization are harder to achieve due to the involuntary nature of this crisis. The adjustment of child refugees in new environments is largely affected by various factors. Related trauma can have multifaceted consequences for children, potentially impacting cognitive, emotional, moral, social, and physiological processes. If you are old enough to remember, the younger you are, the more likely you are to suffer from trauma-induced events, although there is not enough evidence to support the importance of age. Both genders are exposed to a fair amount of violence. However, boys are more likely to receive direct violence such as beatings, shootings, etc., and girls are more likely to find it harder to adjust due to shifts in cultural norms and gender. Racism and prejudice from host countries act as additional stresses due to discrimination and lack of acceptance. Refugees suffer extreme damage to social identity, as children trying to acculturate may feel a loss of pride and self-esteem due to their known status as refugees from the community. Some child refugees are even displaced from their families or orphans, which even makes the adjustment a lot more difficult. These children are faced with a tremendous culture shock, which can be incredibly hard and stressful to deal with alone. Another effect from the trauma that child refugees endure are dissociative disorders. These are mental processes of disconnecting from one's thoughts, feelings, and memories, or a sense of identity. The world is facing a major refugee crisis. Millions are dying every day and hundreds of cities destroyed. Children are suffering. even the ones lucky enough to make it out alive, still deal with the psychological effects of war and trauma. Something needs to be done. No child deserves this. Visit www.unrefugees.org to learn more about this global crisis.